Owen Paterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pleasure to speak in this debate and to follow the shadow spokesman, some of whose points actually I agreed with. I'll be brief, Mr. Speaker, because I know a large number of members want to speak. In simple terms, to get the message across, this is a bad motion spawned from a bad bill. And going right back, and I've said this many times, and members of this House yawn and look tired at the fact, I'm looking at the chairman of the Select Committee, 17.4 million people voted. This is a constitutional first because the people went against the voice of the establishment. Leader of the House and others have long sat here believing in parliamentary democracy. But this time, for the first time in history, the people were given the right to decide very clearly, and to the horror of the establishment, political, commercial and legal, they went against it. Very briefly.
Talks about what the people wanted. Were the people told in 2016 they would be leaving the EU on the 29th of March 2019?
They were told that we would leave and take back control, and then in the ensuing general election, the two main parties and the DUP confirmed that leave meant leaving the single market, leaving the customs union and leave the remit of the ECJ. And that was confirmed by 498 and then 494 members in the second and third readings of the withdrawal bill, which triggered Article 50, which triggered departure, actually, on March the 29th. And members opposite, just give me 2 minutes to finish this point, and members opposite just must understand the anger outside this House. The frustration will turn into something which I would not like to quantify. People approach me the whole time. I get letters, emails, calls, because it's very clear that this House, perhaps stunned by the immediate impact of the referendum, voted to trigger Article 50 and now done everything they can do to stymie it, culminating in the bill which went through last night under ridiculous circumstances. Originally a second reading through by a majority of one, and then rammed through with hardly any procedures here. I'll give way to the Honourable Lady. Right Honourable Lady.
Right Honourable Gentleman, that insulting the majority of people in this House is not exactly a great way to win an argument. But could he confirm that he himself said that we would be wrong to leave the single market? And would he also confirm that the Leave campaign made it very clear that we would not leave the European Union before a deal on trade, a long-term relationship had been established with the EU before we left? That's right, isn't it?
The Right Honourable Lady has done a very good job of infuriating the 7.4 million people out there and insulting them on a daily basis by her stand, because she and I were elected on a very clear platform of leaving the single market, customs union and remit of the ECJ. But no, I'm also going to move on because others want to speak. So these views do not go down well in this House. I'm aware of that. But I really do appeal to members to think of the reaction outside this House. The anger is touchable, and people expect us to leave. And at the moment, and there is a real existential threat, I think, to both the main parties. For the Labour Party, the first 100 marginals that it must win are 78 for leave, and we know that a similar number on the Conservative side of marginals we must win are strongly for leave. And if we are so stupid as to pass this motion tonight and move on to European elections, and I appeal to my front bench members, at the moment we have a free market on leave votes. UKIP has disappeared and there's no one else. If we are so stupid as to pass this and go for a European election, we will single-handedly give an opportunity to a new party to emerge funded with European money, and that would be a great mistake. I give way.
I'm very grateful. Very grateful. Could I just say, with the greatest of respect to my right honourable friend, this is an issue about getting it right for our country for businesses and employees. This is not about grubbing around for votes.
He's absolutely right, and I was very helpfully, he's just moved me on to the next point. Now, looking at the clock, I'll be quite brief. The biggest danger to business at the moment is uncertainty. We had the resignation last week, sadly, of my honourable friend for Daventry, or Daintry as it was pronounced when I used to work at Northampton, who said that while he preferred to leave the European Union with your deal to the Prime Minister, I truly believe our country would have swiftly overcome any immediate issues of leaving without a deal and gone on to thrive. And it is absolutely clear there has been a relentless campaign of Project Fear against, quote, no deal. There is no such thing as no deal. There have already been a succession of mini-deals. We were told that aeroplanes wouldn't fly. That has been sorted. We were told that drugs wouldn't arrive. Right, my friend, the Secretary for Health and Social Security, he has fixed the drugs problem. We know from Monsieur Puissot, who runs the ports of Calais and Dover, that they are relaxed. And when you look at the WTO terms, WTO Facilitation Treaty, and sanitary and phytosanitary terms, it is illegal for our partners to arbitrarily stop shipment of goods which conformed the day before we left. So this whole issue on no deal has been blown up out of all proportion. It is a last stand for Remain.
Has my right honourable friend seen the excellent article in the business section of the Daily Telegraph today, in which several German, very senior people, including Mr Verheugen and others, have made it categorically clear that these negotiations are the failure of these negotiations are the fault of all the participants, including the EU itself.
I've already got to my honourable friend and neighbour to mention Mr Verheugen, who quite rightly warned about the dangers to the German economy, which, as we know, sadly is moving into recession. And we will be doing the whole European economy a service if we resolve the wretched wrangle about Brexit now. And we have, and I'm going to move on because I know others want to speak. And we have at the moment a legal position that unless the government, particularly the Prime Minister, takes an executive decision, Mr Speaker, we will leave at 11 p.m. on Friday. And that is the legal position. So all the pantomime we had with the bill over the past few days and last night is actually irrelevant. There has to be a government decision to do that. And I would appeal to the government at this late stage to recognise the extraordinary anger outside this House. The fact that this House is not listening to the 17.4 million who voted to take back control. This issue could be resolved by leaving on Friday evening at 11 o'clock. And lo and behold, we would see that all these fears, there might be some interruptions, there might be some disruption, but nothing like the damage to the integrity of our democratic institutions. The people have said to me, Mr Paterson, I voted all my life, I'm never voting again, because they, and that means all of us in this House, are not listening. That will be profound, and that is a much, much bigger danger than a few small interruptions which will be sorted out in the next few weeks. Thank you.
Mr Stephen Gethins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.